All right, get ready, because today we're diving deep into immune health.
Oh, yeah.
It's a big topic.
It is.
So we're going to break down Chapter 4,
Okay.
Immune,
Mhm.
from this book, Integrative Geriatric Nutrition.
Sound good.
And we're going to explore everything,
Okay.
from allergies and food sensitivities to how to actually, support your body's defenses.
I love it.
What I think is so cool about this chapter is that it goes beyond just oh, take this pill or take that pill.
Yeah.
It actually looks at gut health and what you eat
Mm.
and even your nervous system.
It's a systems-based approach.
Yeah, it's almost like our immune system is this puzzle, and this chapter gives us all the pieces to put it together.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah, and it's broken down into these really nice sections about allergies, figuring out food sensitivities, autoimmune diseases, infections, and even special diets for better immunity.
Yeah, and one of the things that I found really intriguing was how the nervous system and histamine levels are actually connected.
Oh, interesting.
What? Seriously?
Yeah.
So that means if I'm stressed,
Potentially, yeah.
I could have more allergy problems.
Yeah, that's what the chapter is saying.
That's crazy.
That calming your nervous system through things like meditation or breath work can actually help manage those histamine reactions.
That's a game changer.
It is.
All right, so let's unpack this, starting with allergies.
Okay.
Now, most people think of allergies as just sniffles and sneezes.
Right.
But this chapter goes way beyond that.
Oh, for sure.
It dives specifically into something called EG-mediated food sensitivities.
Okay.
Have you heard of that before?
I have, yeah.
Okay, so explain that a little bit.
So these are a little bit different than your traditional IG-mediated allergies, like your peanut allergy, where you eat a peanut and you go into anaphylaxis.
Right.
These are a little bit more delayed.
Okay.
So they involve a different type of antibody called IgG. And these IgG antibodies kind of act like these little detectives in your blood that identify invaders.
Oh, interesting.
And sometimes they flag certain foods as threats, even if they're harmless.
So it's like a delayed reaction.
Yeah, exactly.
You eat something, and then later your body's like, hold on, that wasn't supposed to be here.
Precisely.
Okay.
And these delayed reactions can cause inflammation throughout the body.
Yeah.
What's really fascinating is the sheer range of symptoms they can cause.
Yeah, and there's a whole table 4.1 in the chapter.
There is.
And it was honestly mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
It's not just the usual suspects like digestive issues and skin problems,
Right.
brain fog and all that.
Yeah.
It seems like almost anything could be linked.
Yeah. Pretty much any system in the body can be affected.
Wow, that's crazy.
It is.
So it really underscores how important it is to listen to your body.
Yes.
And pay attention to any subtle changes that might be related to what you're eating.
100%.
And for some people, it can even progress to more serious conditions.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the atopic march they mentioned.
Yes, the atopic march.
Now, what is that exactly?
So it's basically...
I've heard the term, but...
It's basically this progression of allergic conditions that can start in childhood. So, for example, you might start with eczema as a baby, then develop hay fever as a child, and then eventually progress to full-blown asthma later in life.
I had no idea those were all connected.
Yeah, they're all part of this atopic march.
Wow. And how do we even approach allergies from an integrative perspective? Is it all just popping antihistamines?
Antihistamines are a tool, but I think from an integrative perspective, we go a little bit deeper. Right? So while those can be helpful for immediate relief, the focus is really on getting to the root of the problem and balancing your histamine response naturally. So this might involve using food as medicine, exploring helpful nutraceuticals, lifestyle changes.
Okay, so basically working with our bodies instead of just masking the symptoms.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah.
And then there's this thing called histamine intolerance.
Yes.
Or HIT.
Yeah.
Which sounds pretty intense.
It can be.
What exactly is that?
It's basically an imbalance where your body is making more histamine than it can break down. And this can lead to a whole host of symptoms that are very similar to allergies.
Got it.
And if you're curious to learn more about this specifically, there's a book called What HIT Me? Living with Histamine Intolerance by Genny Masterman.
Oh, okay, I'll check that out.
It's a great resource.
Yeah, so what causes this histamine overload in the first place?
So the chapter highlights three main culprits. First up is gut dysbiosis.
Okay, so explain what that is.
So this is where the delicate balance of bacteria in your gut gets thrown off. So instead of having a diverse garden of good bacteria in there, you get an overgrowth of the troublemakers. Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And some of those bacteria are real histamine factories.
Okay.
They're pumping it out in excess.
And this is why it's so important to be mindful of what kind of bacteria are in
Yes.
probiotics that you take.
Exactly.
Got
You want to make sure they're the good guys.
Okay, what are the other causes?
So the second one is genetics.
Okay.
We each inherit a unique set of genes, and some of those genes can affect the enzymes that are responsible for breaking down histamine.
Okay.
So if those enzymes aren't working efficiently,
Right.
histamine levels can build up.
So it's like some people are predisposed
Yes, exactly.
histamine issues.
Yeah, they might be more susceptible.
And what about the last one?
The last culprit is diet.
Oh, okay.
Certain foods are naturally high in histamine,
Right.
like aged cheese,
Oh, no.
sauerkraut,
Okay.
wine, processed meat, and some fish.
So even if my gut is in tip-top shape, what I eat
Yes.
can still impact my histamine levels.
100%.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets even more interesting.
Okay.
The chapter also points out that histamine is linked to both the immune system and the nervous system.
Yeah, this is fascinating.
So there's this interplay between mast cells, which release histamine,
Yes.
and nerve cells.
Exactly.
Wait, so calming my nervous system could actually help
Potentially, yes.
manage those histamine reactions?
Yeah.
Like, could meditation really make a difference?
It is possible.
That's crazy.
It is, yeah.
And the chapter even suggests that using certain herbs
Yes.
that support the nervous system,
Yes.
called nervine herbs,
Right.
can be helpful.
Mhm.
Nervine herbs.
They're pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard that term before.
There's a lot of them.
Really?
Yeah. Table 4.3 in the chapter
Okay.
lists a bunch of them and how they work.
Like, give me an example.
So chamomile is a gentle one that most people know.
Right.
But then there are others like passion flower, valerian root,
Okay.
lemon balm.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. So, okay, aside from histamine, are there other things in food that can cause similar problems?
Definitely, yeah.
Like what?
So the chapter briefly mentions other potential culprits.
Okay.
Like oxalates, sulfates, salicylates, and lectins.
Okay, and those can all trigger...
Yeah, they can trigger different reactions in sensitive individuals.
Got it.
It can be a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah, that sounds overwhelming.
But I think it's really about
Yeah.
finding what works for you
Okay.
as an individual.
Right.
And the chapter actually gives us a handy table, table 4.4, that lists common dietary triggers
Oh, cool.
for each of those.
Awesome.
It's a great resource.
So let's say you suspect you have some food sensitivities.
Okay.
How do you figure out which foods are actually causing the trouble?
Yeah.
Is it just a matter of guessing?
Well, the gold standard is the elimination diet.
Yeah.
Which can be really effective, but also pretty challenging.
Yeah, 'cause you have to cut out all the things you love.
Yeah, you cut out all the usual suspects for a while
Yeah.
and then slowly reintroduce them to see what happens.
Right.
But this chapter also talks about food sensitivity testing
Oh.
as a tool that's used in integrative medicine.
Yeah, I've heard about those tests where they analyze your blood
Yeah.
for antibodies to specific foods.
Exactly.
Are those accurate?
They can be helpful, but it's not quite as straightforward as it sounds.
Okay.
There are pros and cons to them,
Hmm?
which the chapter lays out in table 4.5.
Okay.
But I think the main takeaway here is that the interaction between food, our gut, and our immune system is incredibly complex.
So these tests are a piece of the puzzle, but not the whole picture.
Exactly. And they actually even walk you through what an IgG food antibody assessment
Oh, wow.
looks like,
Okay.
which is cool to visualize.
Mhm.
And it can detect different levels of intolerance,
Okay.
from mild sensitivities to more severe reactions.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about food and allergies, but what about autoimmune diseases?
That's a crucial aspect of immune health,
Okay.
especially as we age.
Okay.
And the chapter really dives into how our immune system changes over time,
Right.
making us more susceptible to these conditions.
Yeah, they mentioned something called immunosenescence,
Yes, immunosenescence.
which sounds a bit scary.
It's not as intimidating as it sounds.
Okay.
It's basically just a fancy way of saying
Right.
the natural decline in immune function that happens as we get older.
Okay.
And what's interesting is that many of the processes involved in aging
Mhm.
are also linked to the development of autoimmune diseases.
Like what kind of processes?
So we're talking about things like chronic inflammation,
Okay.
oxidative stress, think of it like rusting from the inside out,
Yeah,
and even shifts in our gut microbiome, which we talked about earlier.
got it.
It's almost like all these factors create the perfect storm
Mm-hmm.
for autoimmune conditions to develop.
So it's not just about getting older. It's about how our bodies are changing.
Exactly.
On a deeper level.
Yes.
And this is where the integrative approach differs from conventional medicine.
Right.
Right. Because conventional medicine often focuses on suppressing the immune system.
Exactly, yeah.
And just managing symptoms. Whereas integrative medicine is looking for underlying causes.
Yes.
So gut health, food sensitivities, the presence of certain infections.
Yeah, it's about taking a more holistic view.
So it's about getting to the root of the problem and supporting the body's natural healing abilities.
Absolutely.
And diet plays a huge role here.
It does.
The chapter emphasizes anti-inflammatory diets, which are packed with phytonutrients. They can make a big difference in managing autoimmune diseases.
For sure.
So what we eat can either fuel the fire of inflammation or help put it out.
That's a great way to put it.
That's how I think of it, at least.
Yeah, and there's a really compelling case study in the chapter about a 66-year-old woman with rheumatoid arthritis and through an autoimmune paleo diet addressing nutrient deficiencies, incorporating specific supplements and lifestyle changes. She was able to significantly improve her symptoms and even reduce her medication.
That's incredible.
It is.
So it really shows how powerful these personalized, integrative approaches can be.
They can be really powerful.
Okay, so now that we've covered the basics of autoimmunity, let's shift gears to infections.
Okay.
This is where the immune system really steps into the spotlight.
It does.
And as we age, our immune systems naturally become less robust.
Yes.
Making us more vulnerable to a whole range of infections, from everyday colds and flu to more serious threats like UTIs and even COVID-19.
Exactly.
And speaking of COVID-19,
the
chapter emphasizes that optimizing our immune function is key, especially for older adults.
For older adults,
And there's a whole section on the potential benefits of certain supplements in combating the virus.
Yes, there's a lot of good information there.
Yeah, like vitamins C, D, and A, as well as zinc, selenium, even natural remedies like honey, garlic, and probiotics.
It's amazing how many things can support the immune system.
Yeah. And they even talk about beta-glucans, which can prime the immune system.
Yeah, they're really interesting.
And andrographis.
Oh, yeah.
Which is an herb that might help reduce the activity of a key enzyme involved in SARS-CoV-2 infection.
That's right.
It's a mouthful.
It is. It's a powerful herb.
It's important to remember that while these supplements can be supportive, they're not intended to be standalone treatments.
Right.
For COVID-19.
For any condition, really.
Yeah. You always want to talk to your doctor.
Absolutely. Always consult with a healthcare professional.
But Table 4.10 lists all those supplements.
It does.
And what's great is that it highlights the importance of diet.
Yes.
And includes food sources for each nutrient.
It's great to have those food-based options as well.
I like that a lot.
It's all about a holistic approach.
Okay, so let's move on to those everyday infections.
Okay.
Starting with the common cold and flu.
Yeah.
Those can really knock you down.
They can, for sure.
But thankfully, there are natural ways to support our bodies through those rough patches.
There are.
What kind of natural remedies are we talking about?
So the chapter highlights a variety of supplements that can help manage cold and flu symptoms without always relying on antibiotics.
Right, which can disrupt the delicate balance of our gut bacteria.
Yes.
Table 4.13 has a whole list of them.
Yes, it does.
And speaking of natural remedies, get ready for this.
Okay.
The chapter actually includes recipes.
No way.
Yes, for garlic lemonade and fire cider.
Oh, I love those.
They've been used for ages to support respiratory health.
They're so good.
And they actually sound pretty tasty.
They are,
I like that they include those recipes.
Me too.
It's a nice reminder that traditional wisdom and modern science can work together.
They can go hand in hand.
Okay, up next are UTIs.
All right.
Which, unfortunately, are pretty common, especially in older adults.
They are, unfortunately.
And the chapter shares a fascinating case study about Laura.
Oh, yeah.
A 71-year-old woman who struggled with recurrent UTIs. And her story is incredibly inspiring because she was able to manage her UTIs without antibiotics for 3 whole years.
Wow.
Using a preventative approach with D-mannose and cranberry concentrate.
That's amazing.
So instead of just treating the infections after they occurred, she focused on preventing them in the first place.
Exactly. That's the key.
Yeah.
It's all about prevention.
And if you're interested in exploring other supplements, that might be helpful for UTIs.
Okay.
Table 4.14 has got you covered.
It's a great resource.
All right, so we've covered colds, the flu, UTIs.
Yep.
What about traveler's diarrhea?
Oh, yeah.
I know that can be a real buzzkill on vacation.
It can ruin a trip for sure.
Yeah, but the chapter mentions a great tip for travelers.
Okay.
Taking the Saccharomyces boulardii,
That's a good one.
which is a specific type of yeast probiotic,
Right.
can help reduce the risk of traveler's diarrhea.
That's right.
It all comes back to maintaining a healthy gut microbiome,
Exactly.
even when you're on the go.
Yes, even when you're traveling.
So, are there any other infections they cover?
Yeah, they touch on Lyme disease briefly,
Okay.
which can be really complex and challenging to treat.
Right.
And while conventional medicine typically relies on antibiotics,
Right.
this chapter suggests that an integrative approach can be beneficial,
Okay.
especially in those chronic cases.
So working with experienced healthcare providers to create a more personalized plan
Exactly.
that addresses the unique needs of each individual.
That's the goal.
And then finally, there's a section on candida infections,
Right.
which are caused by an overgrowth of yeast in the gut.
Yeah, it's something that can happen when our immune system is weakened.
Yeah, I've heard of candida overgrowth, but what kind of problems can it cause?
So the chapter explains that high levels of candida colonization can lead to all sorts of digestive issues.
Okay.
And it can even delay the healing of inflammatory lesions.
So it's not just about gut health. It can affect
It can affect other parts of the body.
other parts of the body too.
Yeah, it's a systemic issue.
And if you're dealing with candida,
Yeah.
Table 4.16 lists some helpful supplements that you can explore.
Yeah, that's a great resource.
And the chapter also refers back to an earlier case study
Okay.
and mentions their GI chapter for more in-depth information.
Right.
But we don't have those here today.
We don't, but we've got a lot to work with already.
We do.
Yeah.
From allergies to food sensitivities, autoimmune diseases, and all those pesky infections.
That's a lot.
It's clear that the immune system plays a crucial role in our overall health.
It really does.
What I love about this chapter is it emphasizes the interconnectedness
Yes.
of all these factors.
100%.
It's not just about one thing.
Right.
It's about understanding how everything works together.
Exactly.
It's like a delicate web.
Yeah.
And if one strand gets disrupted, the whole system could be thrown off balance.
That's a great analogy.
And speaking of balance,
Yes.
the last section of the chapter focuses on therapeutic diets,
Right.
how we can actually tailor our plates to support our immune system.
I like that.
And there are 3 specific diets they discuss.
Okay.
The autoimmune protocol, or AIP diet,
Mhm.
the anti-inflammatory diet,
Okay.
and the anti-candida diet.
Got it.
So these diets aren't about losing weight or fitting into a certain size.
No, they're not.
It's about nourishing our bodies
Yeah.
and strengthening our immune system
Exactly.
from the inside out.
It's from the inside out.
But these diets can be pretty intense,
They can be, yeah.
especially initially.
Yeah. Especially at the beginning.
But it's important to remember they're not meant to be quick fixes.
Right.
They're more about adopting a long-term approach to health
Mm-hmm.
and making sustainable changes
Yes.
that become part of your lifestyle.
It's a journey.
It's a journey, not a destination.
It-
And it's a journey that everyone can embark on,
Everyone.
regardless of their age or health status.
Yes. 100%.
There's always something we can do
Always.
to support our immune system and enhance our well-being.
I love that perspective.
Me too. And honestly, after diving deep into this chapter, I feel so much more empowered.
Yeah.
It's like having a new understanding of my own body
Yeah.
and how to care for it.
I feel the same way.
But before we get too carried away,
Okay.
let's take a breath
Sounds good.
and continue this exploration in part 2 of our deep dive.
I'm ready.
Are you ready to delve even deeper into some of these concepts
I am.
and uncover even more fascinating insights about the incredible world of immune health?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, stay tuned.
We'll be right back. As we were just talking about all those different diets and approaches, it really struck me how much this chapter emphasizes personalized care.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's not like a one-size-fits-all situation when it comes to our health,
Exactly.
especially our immune systems.
Everyone is unique, and what works wonders for one person might not do a thing for another.
Right, and that's where this whole functional medicine approach
That's where it shines.
really shines, yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of just treating a disease, they're treating the person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about figuring out what's going on in your body with your specific needs
Right?
and creating a plan that addresses those underlying issues.
Like a health detective.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
And this chapter really highlights that idea of getting to the root cause,
Yes.
not just masking symptoms.
It's not about feeling better temporarily.
Right.
It's about figuring out why you're not feeling well in the first place and addressing that imbalance.
And that makes me think about something we discussed earlier.
Okay.
The connection between the nervous system and histamine levels.
Yeah.
It's incredible how interconnected everything is.
It really is in our bodies.
It's something like meditation.
Right.
Which calms the nervous system.
Right. Can actually help manage histamine reactions.
Yeah.
That's huge.
That's a huge tool.
For people struggling with allergies or histamine intolerance.
It's like unlocking a whole new level of healing.
It is, yeah.
And speaking of tools,
yes,
the chapter's discussion of various supplements and their potential benefits was fascinating.
Wow, right.
It wasn't just like a general overview.
No.
They actually gave specific recommendations for different types of infections.
You did.
From everyday colds and flu to more serious conditions like COVID-19 and UTIs.
It's like having a natural medicine cabinet at your fingertips.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love how they emphasized diet alongside those supplements.
Yes, absolutely.
It wasn't just about popping pills.
Right.
It was about nourishing your body with the right foods, too.
Food is medicine.
And speaking of diet,
let's
revisit those therapeutic diets we touched on earlier.
Right.
The AIP diet, the anti-inflammatory diet, and the anti-candida diet. These are prime examples of food as medicine.
They are.
It's about making conscious choices that support your body's natural healing abilities.
Yeah. But those diets can be pretty intense.
They can, especially initially.
Yeah, especially at the beginning.
But it's important to remember that they're not meant to be quick fixes.
No, not at all.
They're more about adopting a long-term approach to health.
Right.
And making sustainable changes that become a part of your lifestyle.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Exactly.
And it's a journey that everyone can embark on, regardless of their age or health status.
There's always something we can do.
Always.
To support our immune system.
Yes.
And enhance our well-being.
I love that perspective.
Me too. And honestly, after diving deep into this chapter, I feel so much more empowered.
That's great.
It's like having this new understanding of my own body and how to care for it.
I feel the same way.
Me too.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to move on to the final part of our deep dive.
I'm excited.
Are you ready to explore some of the cutting-edge research and emerging trends in immune health?
This is where things get really exciting.
Oh, I am so ready for this.
Let's dive in.
Okay, so we've covered the basics of immune health, explored the impact of diet on lifestyle, and even dove into specific infections. But now let's step into the future and explore some of the most exciting frontiers in immune research.
I'm excited for this.
Me too.
Yeah.
One of the most revolutionary areas is our growing understanding of the microbiome's influence on immune function.
Yeah, it's like this whole ecosystem within our bodies, and we're only just beginning to grasp its complexity and importance.
I've heard so much about the microbiome lately. But it still feels a bit mysterious to me.
Right.
Like, it's mind-blowing to think that trillions of bacteria living in our gut can actually have such a profound impact on our health, including our immune system.
It truly is.
So wild.
Research in this area is exploding.
Yeah.
And we're discovering that the gut microbiome plays a role in everything from autoimmune diseases to allergies, and even how our bodies respond to infections.
It's not just about digestion.
Yeah.
It's like a control center for our overall well-being.
Exactly.
So this brings us to the question of how we can support a healthy microbiome.
Yeah.
Probiotics are everywhere these days.
Everywhere.
Is that the answer? Like, are they just a trend?
Yeah.
Or is there real science behind them?
There is real science.
Okay.
Probiotics can definitely be beneficial.
Okay.
But it's not just about popping a pill and calling it a day.
So it's not a magic bullet.
It's not a magic bullet.
Okay.
This chapter really emphasizes the importance of a diverse and balanced gut microbiome.
Okay.
Which means nourishing the good bacteria that are already there.
So it's like tending a garden.
Exactly.
You need to create the right environment for those beneficial bacteria to thrive.
Yes. And just like a garden, our microbiome can be affected by all sorts of factors.
Like what?
Stress, medications, even environmental toxins.
Wow.
It's about taking that holistic approach.
Right.
And considering everything that might be impacting our gut health.
Okay, this is all starting to make a lot more sense. So with all this research on the microbiome, are we moving towards more personalized approaches
We are.
to immune health?
Absolutely. As we learn more about the microbiome, we're realizing that there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Right.
What works for one person might not work for another because our gut microbiomes are as unique as our fingerprints.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So what does the future hold for personalized immune health?
I think the future is incredibly exciting.
Okay.
We're moving towards a place where we can tailor our diets, our lifestyles, and even medical treatments to optimize our individual immune systems.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
But is that really possible?
I think we're getting there.
Okay.
We're not quite there yet, but we're definitely moving in that direction. Research is advancing rapidly. We're seeing incredible breakthroughs in areas like microbiome sequencing, personalized nutrition, and even targeted therapies that can actually modulate the immune response.
It sounds like we're on the cusp of a revolution
We are.
in immune health.
Absolutely.
And for me, one of the most important takeaways from all this is that we're not just passive bystanders.
Right.
We have more control over our health than we realize.
More than we think.
And by understanding the intricate workings of our immune system,
Yes.
we can make informed choices
Right.
that empower us to live healthier, more vibrant lives.
I love that message.
Me too. It's so empowering to know that we can take an active role in shaping our own well-being.
Absolutely.
This deep dive has been just a starting point.
A starting point.
There's a whole world of fascinating research out there.
There is.
And I encourage everyone listening to keep learning, keep asking questions,
Yes.
and never stop exploring how to support their immune health.
Couldn't agree more. This has been an incredible journey through the world of immune health.
It has.
We've learned so much about how our bodies work, how to identify potential imbalances, and most importantly, how to support our immune systems for a lifetime of well-being.
Yes, and thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been my pleasure.
We hope you feel inspired and empowered to continue exploring the fascinating world of immune health.